Louis of the Horns Conglomerate. It's finally time to cover one out of the two main protagonists of Beastars. He's the most complex character in the series, struggling with so many problems, so much to the point of instability. Before I go any further, I want to put a spoiler warning. I'm going to be diving into things from throughout the manga, but if you want specific chapters, I'm going to be going into details from chapter 33, the entirety of the Murder Solution arc, which spans from chapters 50 to 97, and I will be covering things onwards from that too. Now with that out of the way, let's begin. Peru Itagaki wrote Lugosi with the idea of being that character that most people can relate to, and Louis to be his foil. But surprisingly, Louis is the one that a lot more people find relatable, me included. We all strive to be the best versions of ourselves, but some people go a little too far and begin to hate themselves just because they can't be that ideal person that they always fantasize about being. Louis has hated himself since the day he was born because of his extreme ideals. He had a distaste for all carnivores because he knew that no matter how strong he got, he'll forever be held back by the fangs of carnivores. Something I really enjoy is when another pro about a product is not advertised and left for the consumer to discover. For example, Xenoblade Chronicles is advertised to be an enticing real-time RPG, but what the game doesn't tell you is that it also has a gigantic open world. So when you play the game, you're pleasantly surprised to see that nice thing. Beastars does this too. It's advertised to be a thought-provoking manga with great world building, but what Itagaki doesn't tell you is about how dark it is. We'd seen hints of dark stuff throughout the story, like when Louis pulled a gun on Bill for figuring out his supposed secret. But it really wasn't until we learned about Louis' backstory that the manga showed just how dark it could be. I expected Louis' backstory to be relatively tame, but then when we get to chapter 33, that all changes. The back alley market is one fucked up place. It's where carnivores go to eat meat in secret from the law. The authorities do know about the place, but the only thing that stops them from shutting it down is the little loophole that the market found. Selling live meat is illegal, but what about meat from funeral homes and morgues? On the surface, that's what the cops know about within the back alley market, but what they don't know is the even shadier business that goes on within its depths. There is a secret livestock market that is run by carnivores who sell young herbivores who were raised to be sold and eaten. Louis was one of those herbivores, locked up in a cell for his whole life, not knowing how to read or even speak. The only thing he did know, though, was that he was born to be weak, born to be eaten. That fact was branded on him with a tattoo of the number 4 on his foot, symbolizing that he was just an order on a menu, but also being a symbol of death, with 4 sharing the same pronunciation as the word for death in Japanese. No, Misa, stop, no, don't. Eventually, Oguma, the head of the wealthy company, the Horns Conglomerate, needed an heir, except he was infertile. He wanted to hide that fact, so he couldn't go to a public adoption agency that kept records. Instead, he went to a place where no legal records could be kept of any kind, the back alley market. Being a red deer, Oguma had to find someone of his same species to pass off as his real son, and luckily, Louis fit that bill to a T. Oguma bought Louis for 7 million yen, which kinda reminds me of how Elias bought Chise for 5 million pounds in the Ancient Mage's Bride. Anyway, Oguma wanted to test if Louis was worthy of being his son, so he gave Louis a knife and threw him into a room filled with hungry carnivores and told him to defend himself. Louis immediately tried to take his own life, which was what Oguma was looking for. Oguma was fond of how Louis would rather kill himself than fall to a carnivore, and so he made the final decision and brought Louis home with him. With a ruthless upbringing and a cold father, Louis grew up to believe that he was born to be weak, and no matter how hard he tried to become strong, he would forever be beneath the tattoo on his foot and the fangs of carnivores. With all this in mind, Louis became obsessed with trying to be as strong as he could. He would become such a perfectionist to the point of self-loathing. Louis pushes himself to the absolute limit to be the strongest he can, even if it means performing on stage with a fractured leg. This level of self-hatred due to perfectionism is something that not a lot of people talk about, even though so many people deal with it. I've barely seen this subject be tackled before, so when Louis' character began to unfold, I was taken completely aback because of how much it struck close to home. Now, I don't want to talk about my personal problems too much on a public social media platform, but what I will say is that perfectionism is something I tend to struggle with too. There are so many things about myself that I wish could be perfect. But sometimes I just need to take a step back, chill out, and realize that nobody is perfect. Look, I'm only mentioning this because I want to say how much Louis' character impacted me personally. His arc is what drew me into this manga and kept me invested after a somewhat slow beginning. I wanted to keep on reading because I wanted to see more of Peru's style of writing and continue relating to it. Anyway, I'm done talking about this now. Louis always thought he had a hatred for carnivores, but what he realizes later on is that he's actually jealous of them. They were born to be strong and couldn't be brought down by anyone. He wishes he could have that strength that he could put to use in a positive light. Louis tried to keep up a mighty composure, but when he was pushed to his breaking point, his constant self-loathing and jealousy of carnivores built up so much that he burst.
I've gone this far by toughing it out, but it's gotten so bad. The harder I work my body, the more it breaks down. Hey, don't be so cruel. It's too late to be feeling sorry for myself. You've known that ever since the day that you were born, that your body wasn't made for fighting. It was made to be preyed on, just like the others.
Excuse me.
I can't surpass the predators no matter how hard I try.
Are you feeling alright? Is there something wrong?
Nothing's wrong. You're supposed to knock before you enter here.
I'm sorry. I did knock, but you didn't answer, so I was worried. I figured I'd decide based on your opinion.
Goodness, your body language is so assertive.
Huh? Oh, sorry. I'm always cutting my nails, but they end up growing back the next day.
So you're saying that you can't go against your true nature? And you don't like that, even though you can't even hide it? There's something I've been meaning to ask you. Why don't you ever utilize your strength? You don't need to restrain yourself.
What?
I want you to show me your fangs.
What are you saying, Louis-senpai? It's against the law for carnivores to bare their fangs against herbivores.
Don't label me as a herbivore! I hate your reserved personality. Large breed carnivores like you irritate me the most. Drop the act. Be serious for once. Bite me, Lugosi! Bite me!
Let go! Sorry.
Lugosi and Louis were written to be foils of each other. Lugosi is a carnivore with lots of strength that he chooses to reserve, while Louis is a herbivore who physically has no power but absolutely yearns for it. As the story progresses, their opposing traits only become more apparent. Lugosi having self-control while Louis can't control himself at all. Louis is brash and always gets straight to the point, while Lugosi overthinks things and has his words come out very awkwardly. The two couldn't be more opposite, but somehow their friendship works. I see it as when the two of them are together, they fill in each other's personality gaps and are able to come to one understanding. Something else they have in common is their love for Haru. The way Louis met her was through interesting circumstances. Back when Louis wanted to hide any hint of weakness that he had, he used to not let anyone know that he shed his antlers. One day when Louis was shedding his antlers, Haru caught him. He offered to pay her money to keep what she saw a secret, but she didn't want that. She wanted something else, yeah. Louis hid in her dorm for a couple days to wait for his fake antlers to come in, and from that weekend forwards, they were in love. There was just one huge problem with all that. Being the heir to the Horns conglomerate, Louis has had a fiancé planned out for him since he was a child. He never really cared about his fiancé, but he also knew that he couldn't be with Haru forever. One day, he up and told her that he could never continue this relationship because his fate was sealed, and that personally did get to her. Even though Haru slept with many guys, none of them really cared about her like Louis did, and with him saying that there was no future for the two of them, it left Haru a little down on herself. No one else really cared about her. Well, not until Lugosi came into her life. Louis was jealous of Lugosi getting closer with Haru, not in fear of protecting his girlfriend, but in the realization that Lugosi would treat her so much better than he ever could, and Haru would leave him in an instant. Even though Louis couldn't be with her, Haru was one of the only people that kept him sane. So when she gets taken away and he is powerless to save her, what would happen to his sanity? Towards the end of the Meteor Festival arc, Haru gets kidnapped by the Ashurikai from Shin Megami Tensei 4... the Shishigumi, a gang of lions that patrol the back alley market and eat herbivores to fuel their addiction to meat. Louis knew that he would not be strong enough to save Haru, but he also knew that Legoshi could. He realized that now that he doesn't have Haru, the last thing that kept him sane, that there was no point in living anymore. He was going to kill himself in the way that he felt was most suited for him. He was going to provoke the Shishigumi to eat him. So after Legoshi and Gohin stormed the Shishigumi's hideout and saved Haru, Louis snuck in and killed their boss. He knew that if he did that, it would make the members of the Shishigumi angry enough to kill him. At this point, Louis felt that there was nothing left for him in life and that a situation that he was too weak to face would just happen again. He was ready to die a weakling. It's shown that no one from the back alley market remembers number 4 from the livestock selling system, but that is because no one would. Louis was bought 13 years ago, and from a place that not many animals even know about. Louis is just the type to dwell on everything, so he built up his past so much in his mind that he legitimately thought that some random members of the Shishigumi would actually know what he was talking about when he told them that he was order number 4. When Louis confronts the Shishigumi, he expected them to eat him on sight, except they had other plans.
Hey, what's the holdup? I'm the one who killed your boss. If you consider yourselves to be his underlings, then hurry up and eat me.
Boss.
The boss is dead.
Hey.
Was it really that kid who killed the boss?
Probably. He's got blood on his face.
What's the Shishigumi supposed to do now? Transfer?
Hold on. He's telling us to eat him. He sounds pretty full of himself, but why don't we take him up on his offer?
Yeah, let's worry about us after we eat him. It's not every day we get an animal all to ourselves. I want the calf. What do you want, Hugo?
I want the ribs.
Wait, I recognize him. Ha! Ha! There's no mistake. Don't eat him. I have a great idea.
Huh?
You were in the newspapers, right? They called you an inspiration for our future. You're the leading candidate for that Beastars thing in the Sheraton school, right? He's a young star, and he's also a herbivore. Why don't we try making him the new boss of the Shishigumi? I'm glad our boss is dead. Last year, that tyrant made us isolated from the underworld. If this kid becomes the new face of the Shishigumi, we'll be more respected, and our underworld deals will go through smoother.
What?
What? But he's a deer.
Hey, what are you talking about? Didn't I tell you guys to eat me?
That's the point.
Is this some kind of joke?
I don't buy it. I want to eat him someday.
You'll just have to deal with it. This is the only way we can survive in a herbivore-dominated society.
Oh, look.
Huh?
I would rather die than be used by carnivores. Keep talking. I'll narrow down your choices.
Nah, shit. Stop him.
The Shishigumi knocked Louis out before he could kill himself. So it turns out that killing the Shishigumi's boss had the opposite effect of what Louis intended. Louis's life was now in the hands of carnivores, and because of what his father taught him growing up, he couldn't fall to them. The members of the Shishigumi gave Louis a test to see if he had what it took to be the boss, and that was eating meat. Louis knew now that he had to survive, and so he did it. He committed cannibalism. From that point on, he was made the boss of the Shishigumi. With this newfound purpose in life, Louis felt that his hunger for power was finally being fulfilled by leading the Shishigumi. He would learn later on that this wasn't the correct way of pursuing power, but for now, this was the false mindset he was in. There was one problem though. He was still very stubborn. Because of the fact that he was surrounded by carnivores at all times, he believed that simply because of the laws of nature, he could never get close to any of them. He believed that they were all just savage beasts who wanted to use him. Because of that, he kept on a tough guy facade at all times around them. He would eat meat, smoke cigarettes, and drink alcohol just to show everyone that he meant business. Although this was all slowly killing him. But he was just too stubborn to admit it. As the boss of the Shishigumi, Louis' violent side came out a lot more. To be the boss of the Shishigumi, Louis obviously didn't have time for school, and so he wanted to drop out of it. Since in Japan, you're not considered an adult until you're 20, Louis needed a signature from Oguma to let him drop out. Oguma refuses because he sees this as Louis just going through a rebellious stage in life. What's Louis' response? Well, he points a gun at him. Oguma then says, "I could refuse to sign the form and you could shoot me. I wouldn't mind leaving the world as, a business leader who killed himself from the despair of his own son's delinquency. What do you think, my son?" This scene holds a lot of weight because it's a clash between two ideals. Louis' want to create his own path in life, not bound by the chains of society, and Oguma being completely bound to them. Oguma is again spreading his Hornstar secret technique of committing suicide for glory that Louis subconsciously feeds into. Oguma did have one good point though. Louis was putting on an act. He was trying to be this tough leader and destroying himself in the process. Oguma caught on to that, and so that is why he signed it as a temporary leave form. The members of the Shishigumi didn't catch on to the fact that Louis was just putting on an act. Well, all of them but one. Ibuki. Ibuki, the lion that originally proposed the idea of Louis becoming the boss, legitimately did care about Louis' well-being. There is no way I could talk about Louis without talking about Ibuki's character. And so here's a little plot twist. This is also a mini Ibuki video. So Ibuki is a 35-year-old lion who has been a member of the Shishigumi since he was Louis' age, 18. Even though he was a member of the mafia, he had a kind heart and believed in finding the good in things. He hated the ways of the old boss, which I don't think we ever learned his name, so you know what, we're gonna call him Tayama. So Tayama's way of negotiation was with brutal force, but Louis' new way of making deals was by simply talking and making deals to try and unify the back alley market. Ibuki grew up being taught that animals should act in the roles that they were born to be, but after meeting Louis and seeing how strong a herbivore could be, he realized himself that he didn't have to be this tough guy that he felt that he was born to be. As time went on, Louis' strength impacted even more of the members of the Shishigumi. Before, they all saw Louis, and Louis saw all of them as tools. But as time went on, they all slowly started seeing each other as friends. Ibuki saw himself within Louis. If he could go back in time and change the way he grew up, a way of avoiding Tayama's teachings, he would have given the world for that. He knew that was impossible, but he found new meaning, making sure Louis didn't grow up like he did. That's why Ibuki becomes a father figure to Louis. Oguma never was truly compassionate towards Louis, but on the other hand, Ibuki always showed the utmost care whenever he was around Louis. The symbolism here is very strong. Look at Oguma's eyes and compare them to Ibuki's. Yeah, he's the father that Louis never had. There was still one thing holding Louis back from accepting Ibuki as his father figure though. Louis was still jealous of the fact that the members of the Shishigumi had an easy upbringing because they were able to defend themselves with their own strength. But his perception of carnivores as a whole was changed in Chapter 80. So you know how Louis was brought up in a herbivore livestock market? Well, little did he know that there was actually a market that sold live carnivores too. In fact, Louis and the Shishigumi had to go there to make a negotiation. So a lot of people commented on my original Beastars video that they were really confused about what I meant by the castration scene. Well, Chapter 80 is probably one of the most messed up chapters in the entire series. So this market has carnivores sold to them, and from there, their body parts are labeled with tattoos and are sold to herbivores. The way we are introduced to this market is a goat asking for a crocodile's genitals to be cut off. It's a really messed up scene. So messed up that Ibuki gets mad at the place for showing Louis something that horrific. Louis gets mad at Ibuki for being overprotective of him, and that's when Ibuki drops some major baggage on Louis.
Boss, please don't think about jumping off.
Why would I kill myself now?
I knew about how you spent your childhood, you know. It's a beautiful night outside. Makes you want to laugh, right? I got this tattoo when I was a kid. Imagine that. I'm who I am now, because I ran away from there. Alone. We're not so different.
Louis was shocked. His eyes were opened up to the fact that carnivores could have struggles just like herbivores could. This sets off something in Louis' head. Just a couple chapters before, Lugosi tried to convince Louis to leave the Shishigumi and come back into the light. Even though Louis was slowly gaining an understanding for carnivores, he was still committing violent acts like participating in turf wars and destroying his body with drugs. Lugosi wanted Louis to come back because he saw a ray of hope within Louis that could pave the way for a future where carnivores and herbivores could truly coexist. So he needed to come back and become the next Beastar. At the time, Louis shooed him away because he was still in the mindset that carnivores didn't understand what the true struggles of herbivores were. But after Ibuki opened his eyes, he was more open to Lugosi's persuasion. Lugosi was going to have a duel to the death with Thames killer Ritz, and he wanted Louis to be there to see it. Lugosi tries to convince Louis to come, and it almost works, but his stubbornness gets in the way of accepting Lugosi's offer. Although after some time, Ibuki's past and Lugosi's words got to him, and so he decided on something.
You're leaving? The Shishigumi?
Yeah, right now.
What's come over you, boss?
Someone important to me is in danger of dying.
Is this animal more important than the Shishigumi?
I can't compare him to all of you. He's the antithesis of the Shishigumi, and is just as important to me. He's too radiant. I want to heed his resolve, and I can't do so if I go on as the boss of the Shishigumi and...
The Shishigumi isn't nice enough to let you come back after leaving to save a friend. You know that, right?
I do. You're a big animal, Ibuki. You're always crouched when you're around me, out of worry over my small body. I noticed. But you're a line from a crime syndicate. You might get overwhelmed with fatigue if you keep worrying about me.
Wait. Just wait. Let's go for a drive and talk in the car.
Louis has changed Ibuki so much for the better that Ibuki couldn't live without him. Ibuki always wanted to be a figure that both carnivores and herbivores could look up to. Ibuki blindly listened to Tayama, and that ruined him. Tayama told Ibuki that he must play the part of King of Beast and act like a savage killer. This ended up driving herbivores away from him. He wanted to drop the act so badly, but because he was acting that way for so long, he didn't know how to stop pretending anymore. When Louis came along and reformed the Shishigumi, that changed everything for Ibuki. He learned how to stop pretending and how to be strong without appearing as a savage beast. He relied so much on Louis' guidance that he couldn't live without him.
If you're going to leave the Shishigumi after being in it for 6 months, then it's not going to be easy to get your old life back. That's how the underworld is. It's like entering a dark road tunnel, but once you get in, there's no guarantee you'll make it out alive. The tunnel's light bulbs have been broken for a while now. It's pitch black in here, and you deers can't see in the dark, like carnivores can. Boss, you're going to see nothing but black. No more bluffing this time around. In the end, I'm just a lion from the Shishigumi. This is the only way he can break ties with me, boss. I said before that I was comfortable working with you. That was a lie. I was happy. Louis, you saved me. I've stopped the car now. If you don't shoot me, I'll eat you alive. Just point to the direction of my voice and shoot. Now.
I can't do it, Ibuki. I can't shoot you.
I see. In that case.
Ibuki? Ibuki?
I want to say thank you to all the voice actors who helped out in this video. I really appreciate all the hard work that they do. As a little plug, check out Don's Voice's YouTube channel and hit him up on Fiverr. Also, check out Blue Glow's channel. So yeah, this video was originally going to be one part, but there's just so much to talk about when it comes to Louis, I had to split it into two. This video alone was quite an undertaking. I didn't expect it to be this long, but I'm really happy with how it came out, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Alright, part 2 will be coming soon, it's in the works right now. Oh, and one last thing. I have a Discord server. The link to it is in the description. Feel free to join if you want to just chat about Beastars or, you know, whatever. Anyway, see you guys at Louis part 2.
Boss, it's a full moon tonight.
Koro-chan's in trouble! Help him!